Good evening. I'd like to call the Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, August 6, 2019 to order. Will the city call the roll, please?
Ms. Defoe?
Present.
Ms. Selesny?
Present.
Mr. Friedman?
Present.
Mr. Weigand?
Here.
Mr. Rogers?
Here.
Madam Chairperson, you have a quorum to conduct business.
Okay, thank you. Are there any communications?
Not at this time.
Okay, so let's move into our public hearing. For those of you who haven't joined us before, I'll give you a quick explanation of how we conduct business. The city will call the case number. They'll read a short synopsis about that case. We ask you to step forward as the appellant, state your name and address. There's also a sign-in sheet at the podium if you'd sign in for us, and explain to us what you're asking for and why. Then the city will read a findings of fact. We'll ask you to agree with that or disagree or add anything else you'd like at that moment. We'll open it up to the public. If there's anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on a case, then we'll turn it over to the board to deliberate and make a decision. During that time, as the appellant, we ask you to just stay either by the podium or in the front row in case we have additional questions. Okay, so will the city call the first case, please?
For ZBA case 1907, the appellant, Trevor Hamilton, contractor, representing the owner, Autumn Ridge Condominium Association, is requesting the following from the board: for a variance to permit construction of a fence within the required front yard setback, 50 feet required, 0 feet proposed. The property is located on the south side of 10 Mile Road between Kinzel Street and Ingleside Drive, Sidwell parcel 2429-202001 at 24986 Auburn Lane, zoned RM, multiple family low rise. This appeals to section 5.37, paragraph 1C and 2B, article 4, chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
If you could state your name and address, please, for the record.
Trevor Hamilton. My address is 25280 5 Mile, Redford, Michigan, 48239.
Okay, and then can you give us a quick explanation of what you're looking for?
Well, I was contracted by the Highlander Group, the owner of Autumn Ridge Apartments, as stated, a multi-unit residence located on 10 Mile, just east of Telegraph. They currently have a...
Can you come, maybe closer to the microphone?
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. They currently have a wooden privacy fence on the, what would be termed the front yard of the location, going down from Telegraph eastbound, covering the entire frontage of the property. I'm not sure the age of the wood fence, but it's seen its better days. It's old. And the proposal is to remove the existing wood fence and replace it with a new vinyl fence. Nothing in terms of footage or anything like that will change. We'll just remove the old fence and install a new one.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For ZBA case 19-0007, the appellant, Trevor Hamilton, contractor, representing the owner, Autumn Ridge Condominium Association, is requesting the following from the board: a variance to permit construction of a fence within the required front yard setback, 50 feet required, 0 feet proposed. The property is located on the south side of 10 Mile Road between Kinzel Street and Ingleside Drive, Sidwell parcel 2429-202-001, located at 24986 Auburn Lane, zoned RM, multiple family low rise. The subject property is developed with the Autumn Ridge condominiums. The properties to the north across 10 Mile Road are zoned RM, multiple family residential medium rise, and ERO, Education Research Office, and are developed with the Pine Ridge Apartments and Charter One Bank, respectively. The properties to the south are zoned RE, single family residential, and are developed with single family homes fronting Tioga Street. The property to the east is zoned OS Office Service and is developed with the Riverwood Office Complex. The properties to the west are zoned RE, single family residential, and are primarily undeveloped lots fronting Glenside Drive and Ingleside Drive with one single family home fronting 10 Mile Road. The site contains 18.92 acres of land with approximately 793 feet of frontage on 10 Mile Road and a depth of 925 feet. The proposed commercial fence permit submittal proposes the replacement of the existing 6-foot-high painted wood fence with a 6-foot-high vinyl privacy fence angled on both sides of the entrance drive to avoid obstruction of the corner clearance areas. The existing fencing is legal nonconforming. Fencing regulations were adopted within the zoning ordinance in 2010, and the existing fencing was installed prior to that date. Based on historical aerial photographs, the existing fencing seems to have been installed sometime between 1980 and 1990.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, fence
Okay.
is old.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
This time, I just would like to express there are representatives from the management group and the tenants association, the owners association, excuse me, also present. And they're well in agreement. I'm not sure what is not non-conforming to the current zoning rules. However, I know the requirements would allow a lower fence. I believe it's 3 feet in height. Currently, there's one entrance. It's located on 10 Mile. The 6-foot privacy fence maintains and funnels everyone into that entrance where there's a guard shack and entrance cameras. The lower fence would open the entire property up 21. 3 feet high could actually be stepped over and would require undue burden on the management group then to require maybe roving patrols or something like that to maintain security on the property. So they just want to maintain the security and the privacy to the units that face 10 Mile. Really just want to upgrade the property, not detract from it anymore.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff's recommendation is to approve based on the following findings. The variance requested will have minimal adverse effects on the surrounding properties, especially since the fencing has existed within the front yard setback for at least, it should be 29 years. The proposed changes at the site will enhance the aesthetics of the site, and the vinyl material will require less maintenance than the existing painted wood fence. And the fencing provides a necessary buffer from the condominium buildings and the highly trafficked thoroughfare of 10 Mile Road.
Okay, thank you. Anything you want to add, or we'll open it up to public comment?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll open it up to the board. Mr. Rogers?
Having looked at the fence, it looks like it could use a replacement. It's about time. So as long as it's conforming to the non-conforming status, everything is fine by me.
All right, sounds good. Mr. Weigand?
The fence that is there is a wooden fence, and it's kind of dilapidated. And you plan to put in a vinyl fence. Why vinyl and why not a wood replacement?
Those were that's really up to the management group to determine the type of material that they use. I've been fencing for almost 19 years. I could install any type of fence they chose. They chose vinyl. It's a non-maintenance fence. Comes with a warranty. It's an excellent product. It is just something that will require zero maintenance. Even if you had to paint it, if you do install a wood fence, you have to stain it, seal it, or something like that, minimum every 2 to 3 years. So this takes that burden off of them. It is a higher cost because vinyl is more expensive than wood. However, there's no deterioration, no weather bearing, or anything like that. It is easily repaired. So if something happens to it, sections can be taken out and replaced without any problems.
What color is it going to be?
The proposal right now currently is white. However, my supplier has a multitude of colors. I know the one that's there now is kind of tan. If they choose to go with that, that is accessible.
You know, I've seen the white vinyl fences, and frankly, in my view, they're ugly. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you don't want to maintain it, and they'll last forever, yada, yada, yada. My suggestion, strong suggestion, because if you have a white shiny vinyl fence on there, it really detracts from the property. So my suggestion is you get colored vinyl,
Not a problem.
please. That's my only comment on it. You know, I'll go along with the city.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Leslie?
I'm thoroughly in favor of your project. I just have a question, like where does the city property, it says there's front yard setback, but it seems it's way back from 10 Mile Road, so is that the property line of the Autumn Ridge?
If I might, through the chair to Ms. Lusney, yes, it's at the property line of where the property begins.
Oh, okay, because certainly it's not from 10 Mile. or
No,
even
that's
from the
part of
sidewalk.
the Oakland County right-of-way, so yeah, right, the setback requirement is from the property line itself.
Oh, okay, fine. I was just curious on that. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with it.
All right, thank you. I also think it'll be a very nice upgrade to the property and appreciate you investing in your property. So with that, Ms. Leslie, will you make a motion for us, please?
Certainly. Regarding ZBA case 19-0007, where the appellant Trevor Hamilton, a contractor representing Autumn Ridge Condominium Association, is requesting a variance to permit construction of a fence within the required front yard setback to the property located on 24986 Auburn Lane, Sidwell parcel 2429202-001. I move that we approve this variance. The reasons being that the waiver requested will have no adverse effects on the surrounding properties, especially since the fencing that has existed within the front yard setback for at least 29 years. The proposed changes at the site will enhance the aesthetics of the site, and the vinyl material will require less maintenance than an existing painted wood fence. And the fencing provides a necessary buffer from the condo buildings and the highly trafficked thoroughfare of 10 Mile Road.
Great, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Your motion passes. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will the city call the next case, please?
Yes, for ZBA case 1915, the appellant Lana Saber, representing the owner, Benaz Saber, is requesting the following from the board: a variance of 8.25 feet of landscaping in the front yard, 8.25 feet required, 0 feet provided, and a variance of 4.7 feet of required building east side yard setback, 15 feet required, 10.3 feet provided. The property is located on the south side of 9 Mile between Evergreen Road and Maple Ridge Drive. Sidwell parcel 2435-101-003 at 831 West 9 Mile Road, zoned OS Office Service. This appeals to section 5.105, paragraph 4, article 9, and section 5.194, article 22, chapter 5 of the Southfield Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Hassan Baidoun, the general contractor.
Lana Saber.
Hi, could you both give us your address, please, for the record?
Oh, yes, 998 Hillsborough Drive, Rochester Hills, Michigan, 48317.
646 North Denwood, Dearborn 48124.
Okay, thank you. And who would like to give us an explanation of what we're doing and why?
They have an existing business next door, daycare business, and it's very successful, and they overbooked, and we turned the property next door to rehabbing it and making it an accessible and an additional space to cover more kids in that location. And according to the zoning, we are short a few feet from the site, from the setback for the zoning board. It's supposed to be 15 feet, and we have like 10 feet 3 inches, and that's why we're here to get an approval to. That's the only actually things that we have different to
Okay.
get an approval on.
Okay, sounds good. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For ZBA case 19-0015, the appellant Lana Saber, representing the owner Banaz Saber, is requesting the following from the board: a variance of 8.25 feet of landscaping in the front yard, 8.25 feet required, 0 feet proposed, a variance of 7 feet of the required building east side yard setback, 15 feet required, 10.3 feet provided. The property is located on the south side of 9 Mile Road between Evergreen Road and Maple Ridge Drive, Sidwell parcel 2435-101003 at 19831 West 9 Mile Road, zoned OS Office Service. The subject property is developed with a formal single-family home, recently rezoned and approved for daycare use. The properties to the north across 9 Mile Road are zoned R4 single-family residential and are developed with single-family homes fronting 9 Mile Road. The properties to the south are zoned R2 single-family residential and are developed with single-family homes fronting Mahone Street. The property to the east is zoned R2 single-family residential and is undeveloped land owned by the petitioner. Property to the west is zoned OS Office Service and is developed with a daycare center also owned by the petitioner. The site contains 0.304 acres of land with 120 feet of frontage on 9 Mile Road and a depth of 110 feet. The approved site plan indicates a conversion of the existing 2017 gross square foot home for daycare use and indicates the installation of required parking, masonry screen wall along the east and south property lines, fenced-in play area, sidewalks, bike rack, and landscaping, pedestrian connection, and bumper blocks where needed. The property was rezoned from R2 single-family residential to OS Office Service on June 24th, 2019 to allow the daycare center use. The side yard setback was conforming under the R2 single-family residential zoning requirements, 8 feet required, 10.3 feet provided. However, it became non-conforming with rezoning to OS Office Service. A new 6-foot-high masonry wall is to be installed along the east and south property lines where abutting single-family residential zoning per zoning ordinance requirements, which will minimize the impact to the surrounding on the surrounding residential properties. The appellant owns the 2 undeveloped residential properties to the east. Neither of these properties are developable as they do not meet the minimum lot size or frontage requirements required in the R2 single-family residential zoning district. Section 5.105, Article 9 of the zoning ordinance states that not more than 50% of any front or side yard abutting a street shall be used for vehicular parking or driveways. This parking restriction is necessary to maintain the transitional character of the area that this district is intended to preserve. The required building setback is 16.5 feet. Therefore, the required landscape abutting on 9 Mile Road is 8.25 feet. Existing landscaping within the front yard must be removed to provide required off-street parking and to comply with minimum driveway widths. The center island landscaping abutting 9 Mile Road does not currently meet the 8.25 foot requirement, and neither do the other sections along the west side of the property abutting 9 Mile Road. The proposed 20 feet of landscaping exists between the curb line of 9 Mile Road and the northern property line within the city's 9 Mile Road right-of-way. The proposed landscape plan indicates the removal of 6 maple trees and the installation of 6 deciduous trees, 3 ornamental trees, and 35 deciduous shrubs. 19 existing maple and pine trees ranging from 1.8 feet to 3-foot trunk diameter will be retained as part of the new development.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add at this time? Do you agree with those facts?
You agree with the facts, yes.
Okay. Anything else, or we'll?
No, other than the setback on the side, that's the only thing we can do nothing about it since we are 4 feet and 7 inches short. The front, here it says 0, but we have around the circle driveway, we have about 20 feet radius of grass and trees in there. So it's not mentioned in here, but it is there in the plan. So.
Okay. Will the staff read the recommendation, please?
Staff's recommendation is to approve both variances based upon the following findings. The east side yard setback variance requested will have minimal adverse effects on the surrounding properties, especially since the petitioner owns the 2 adjacent undeveloped residential properties to the east, and a 6-foot-high masonry wall is to be constructed along the east property line. Increasing the landscaping along 9 Mile Road would cause encroachment into minimum driveway widths, decrease vehicular circulation on the site and would hinder access to the required parking area. The site is unique in that there is a significant 20-foot landscape strip within the 9 Mile Road right-of-way, which provides adequate buffer from traffic along 9 Mile Road. The proposed landscape plan indicates compliance with city ordinances pertaining to tree removal and required landscape area on the overall site and will provide additional curb appeal. And the variance for landscaping abutting a street will have minimal adverse effects on the surrounding properties and is in character with the zoning ordinance, and that the transitional nature of the area is maintained even with the deficiency in landscaping abutting the street.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to add, or we can, okay, so let's open it to public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Ms. Lesney?
I understand what you're trying to do. I really have no objection. It's very reasonable. One of the things that I was concerned about was visibility. When you're coming down 9 Mile Road and you're going east, the first time I did that, I went right by it. Had to circle around when I got to Mahan, and come around and come back again. There's no, it's not clear where your driveway is. But I do see 2 metal banners or poles with banners on them, which I don't know if they're allowed by the city or not. They are not. But I see why you have them, but you need something better than those banners to identify an entrance. And I don't know if that's going to combine with the new entrance that you're putting to the next building that you're adjacent. So
right
I'm
now,
concerned about how that's going to work.
Well, right now, we're making a huge circular driveway, and we're making parking spots, 7 parking spots in the front. So once we remove the trees and plant shorter trees and shrubs and things in the front, it's gonna open up the view, and it's gonna make it very clear when you drive by back, on either side. And that's why they don't want us to put in the front more trees and shrubs and in the entry, so they can keep it visible and clear. But the plan that we have, it's not what you see right now. What you see now, it's all going to be changed. It's going to conform to a commercial look. It's going to be all parking lot. It's going to be like completely different. So what the existing is going to change completely with the blueprint that we submit to the building department.
I just wanted to make sure that those banners were removed, and
they will.
And you had a better plan for entrance and egress.
Yes.
Entrance and exit, excuse me.
Yes.
Entrance and exit than you already have.
Okay. Mr. Weigel?
Did the city write this up? And you went there and inspected it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you identified the maple trees, did you?
Noreen did. A tree survey was submitted as per our requirements, and yes, she reviewed the plan. And
Who did that?
Noreen Kozlowski, the landscape design coordinator. She does all
I thought she was better than that. They are not maple trees. They are red oak trees, Quercus alba, or Quercus rubra. And they're magnificent. This is my problem, I'm a tree man. They're magnificent. They arch over 9 Mile when you drive, and it is just absolutely lovely when we go there. We're known as the Tree City, supposedly. And the first thing we need to do is to cut down all these trees. I'm not asking you yet. Whose idea was to go in there and say, we need to clear cut this area?
If I might, through the chair, to be able to get the required parking that they need to be able to remove some of the trees in the front.
Some of the
Otherwise,
trees,
it's not,
they're removing all of them.
They need all the spaces here that are shown on this parking lot to be able to meet the zoning ordinance requirements.
How was this rezoned to commercial?
What do you mean?
This was rezoned on June 24th
Correct.
to commercial. Before that, it was residential. This was city council did that?
Yes. Planning Commission, City Council.
At the request of the petitioner, I
Correct.
assume. So if I wanted to put in a daycare center at my house, I just go to the city council and they'll do that? They'll say, oh, you don't have to be a residential?
We have several tests that we look at. We look at adjacent property, if it's contiguous to property that's already zoned that, if it's over 1 acre, what the future land use map says. Those are all tests that they look at, that the planning department looks at to see if that would be something that we could support. So,
So I can make my property commercial?
not if you're not contiguous to commercial zone, we wouldn't support it. I don't know where you live, but that's, this is contiguous. The property to the west is already zoned commercial. It's already an existing daycare.
Well, that's on the corner, that's right. And they've got a thing across there to protect it from the residents. I understand that.
And it's on a major thoroughfare, and those are, like I said, we've got several tests that we look at to see if we would support it, and then ultimately Planning Commission makes a recommendation and City Council approves or disapproves it.
Not all the trees are we cutting. We only, with the front trees, according to the plan, the remaining, the big trees in the front, there's 4 big trees in the front, the remaining. Only
Right.
the trees around.
These are the big oak trees that are.
Those are, yeah,
got
some of
6
them are, yeah, the remaining. The only thing we're taking out, there's a couple trees in the way of the driveway, the circle driveway, and that's the ones, the maple ones are we taking out.
They're not maples, they're oaks.
Well, according to the surveyor who went and surveyed the place, we go by him, he's the expert, we're not.
The circular drive right now goes around the oak trees. And my understanding, and is this for commercial, they have to clear cut that?
No, not at all, not at all. No, the
Then
front.
why are you doing it?
We not the front ones, not the ones you're talking about. The ones around, we're gonna go around those, but we have to provide enough parking lot for
It says
seven
right
parking
here
lot.
to be removed.
If I might, through the chair to Mr. Wygum, trees 822 and 823 need to be removed because of the proposed concrete sidewalk. That's a requirement in the zoning ordinance, provide a sidewalk along the right-of-way. They're keeping 821.
There's no sidewalk there now, and there's no sidewalk on either side of it.
Well, it's a
So it's
requirement for the
connecting to
zoning
what?
ordinance, so they would have to either get a variance for the sidewalk or a variance for, well, that's it, variance for the sidewalk, but
Why do you
they're
need a
making the
sidewalk?
replacements.
Why do you need a
It's a
sidewalk?
zoning ordinance requirement.
What?
It's a requirement of the zoning ordinance.
So
To
do we
have
have
a
the
5-foot right-of-way
The sidewalk goes nowhere. It's right in front, it goes this way nowhere and this way nowhere. In order to put that sidewalk in, you're cutting down trees. These trees right here, the 3 trees right here are DBH, that's diameter at breast height right here, are 2 feet, okay? The Quercus rubra tree lives to be 2 to 3 centuries. The one in the back here is perhaps a signature tree for Southfield. It is, and I brought my measurement here, over 3 feet. That big, crossed here. It is probably a signature tree in Southfield, one of the largest red oak trees in Southfield. And we want to take that one out. That's the one in back here where you've got a little wheelchair here. We want to take that out so we can put a sign in. I have a great problem. The only maple, by the way, the only maple on here that you identified as a maple is a silver maple, which is way in the corner. They're going to take that out, and it's a lousy tree. There's no big deal. The big trees in front, all of these add, to me, it makes your property look beautiful. It enhances it. If I had a kid or something, that's where I'd want to go. I don't want to clear cut and put a sidewalk that goes nowhere. As you can tell, I am not opposed to the daycare center. I really am not. How many kids do you expect to have there?
20 to 24 kids as a start.
I mean, I assume there's a regulation on
Yeah,
how many kids you
we
can
follow the
have
state,
per,
yes.
per square foot.
Yes, we follow the state of Michigan.
You
The
can have
s-
20
The state
there?
regulate how many kids you have in there.
Right. You have some room on the side here where it's just grass and there's some shrubby stuff there that you can put parking or something. there rather than have it in front where you cut down these trees.
True, the reason for a couple of those trees to be cut is the sidewalk. It's not, there's nothing to do with the parking lot. It's the sidewalk, not the parking lot. So that's an issue with the city now.
Do they have to have a sidewalk?
If I might, through the chair, yes, they need to have a sidewalk. It's a zoning ordinance requirement to have a sidewalk.
Unless we say they don't have to.
Unless they request a variance for that.
Ed, can we stipulate that they don't have to have a sidewalk there that goes nowhere?
If I might, the only way that that could be done is they'd have to come back with a, since we did not advertise the removal of a sidewalk, that's a variance from the plan, they would have to resubmit a case for that. We can't just do that on the record without having legally noticed that that was going to be removed, that that was a waiver.
And just a reminder, if I could, to the board, that, you know, a big focus on when we look at these site plans is we're trying to make sure that all parts of Southfield are walkable. And when these come in piecemeal, we understand that some of them might not lead to anywhere, but if and when sidewalks come into play and there's now a connection on either side, this is what we're trying to do in order to get to that point where everything in Southfield is walkable. So that's a major key is getting these sidewalks in place to increase the walkability of the entire city as a whole. And it might seem piecemeal now, but as things become developed, this is how we get that network created.
No, I understand what you're saying, but in this case, it's extremely detrimental. It's detrimental to his property.
There is a sidewalk to the west. It does connect, and especially because these two daycares are owned by the same people, there's going to be kids walking back and forth, possibly employees walking back and forth between the two properties, and how are they going to get there besides this right-of-way sidewalk?
It's undeveloped.
They own the west property
I understand
daycare
that. There's
center.
nothing there.
No, the west property is a daycare center that they also own, as I stated in the zoning,
Where?
in the findings.
On this side?
Yeah. That's where their daycare.
They own the property to the east and the west.
This is where the fence, right now is where the brick wall is it not? And so they own this here?
Mm-hmm.
What is there right now?
It's like a school.
It's the daycare center.
Daycare center.
A what?
Daycare center.
Another daycare.
There's another daycare center.
This is the second daycare, because they're so successful, that's why they've obtained this property, acquired this property, and petitioned for the daycare center, because
Are they going to take down that fence then, between the two?
And we're not required to do that. Actually, we're required to keep it there.
Yeah,
You're not required if both of them are the same. It's when it's next to a residence.
True, but the different type of kids going to be in one, and we move in the other kids to the other one. So they like
I
to
know
keep.
you have to have it on the east side because there's nothing there.
True, but they want us to separate the kids. They don't want like the 13 years old to be with the toddlers.
Let me ask you this. Can the sidewalk, does it have to be engineering straight? Can it just go around the trees?
I mean, they'd have to read.
I mean, I dealt with engineers all my life. I came from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the only line between here and there is a straight line. And that's what this is. An architect or something put a straight line here. Is there a way that you can maneuver that around and and then, because of course now you have to put stuff in because you don't have landscaping, but you have living landscaping right now.
Yeah, I don't know. They'd have to
If
submit
I
a
might,
plan. We'd need to
through the
review it.
Chair, Mr. Wygum, I don't know how you would bend it to not affect either 822, 821, or 823. I can't see a way that you could.
Unless it's
I mean, you'd have to go
directly to
way
9 Mile.
up in there to go around all of them and come all the way around. I don't
Well,
know.
if you've been there, no, that's the way they drew it. But if you've been there, there is room. There is absolute room. And I would ask you, it enhances your property to try to save those beautiful trees.
I'm looking at it right now, and the way, if it is required for the sidewalk, which is it is, if we loop around it, at least 2 of the 4 trees gotta be removed. There's no way around it. because they taken the position they are in, it's impossible. We have to at least remove two at least of them.
Let me ask you about this signature tree. There is nothing, no sidewalk or anything there, you're just taking it down. Why are you doing that? Why don't you just put the sign in front of it? When I say signature tree, I'm talking about the one that has a diameter of breast height of 3.5 right here.
Is it possible to tell me which number it is on the plan?
825.
825, 824.
It looks like it's where the handicaps
Yeah,
parking spot is.
It's not a sign, it's a required
Oh, that's
parking
where the
space with a
handicap-
van accessible aisle.
It says barrier-free parking sign is what it
That's-
says.
Yeah, if
That's
I might,
the-
that won't affect anything. The barrier-free sign doesn't.
No.
That's not the reason
The
to take it
barrier-free,
down.
you're looking at there's an arrow, barrier-free parking sign is pointing to a little point. The barrier-free parking space in the required access aisle, that's where 825 is going to be located. They have to have that barrier-free parking space has to be closest to an accessible entrance. That's a state of Michigan requirement.
Is there a way for you to, if you say I have to have that in order for handicap to come in, can you move it?
Do you mean move the tree, or you mean move the
come
spot?
No, you can't move the tree.
Move the spot.
Yes, move
The
where they
spot.
enter.
So would that reduce the number of parking? And then they'd have to put another parking spot somewhere else?
Okay.
If I might through the chair, they have to have 7 parking spaces, and 7 parking spaces are provided on site. They cannot take out any additional parking spaces. They need all 7 spaces that are indicated. And the barrier-free parking has to be nearest an accessible entrance, which the space that they've indicated is nearest to the accessible entrance.
I just feel really bad. I feel like the Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax. Who speaks for the trees?
Well, I mean,
Obviously, nobody.
they just, as a
And
reminder,
I'm disappointed in the city. They don't even confirm what the trees are. That's all I have to say at this time.
Mr. Rogers?
It's a tough act to follow. I don't have a problem with anything. I actually like the fact that the residential property is being developed this way. I do have to echo the sentiments of Mr. Wygum that the trees are important. Maybe there's a compromise where the trees, perhaps more of them could be saved. Maybe you don't necessarily need concrete going through that area. Maybe it could be a softscapes or something like that. But I don't make the rules regarding the tree replacements. But I thought that may be a suggestion. So as far as I'm concerned, I like the fact that the residential house that's there now is going to be upgraded. I have a feeling that if it wasn't, it might look like that for a long time. And I'd like to see more of this in the city where it's appropriate and applicable. And so this is a good start.
Okay. Mr. Freeman?
I too, driving by the site and comparing it to what you've planned, I'm glad that it's being redeveloped. It seems to me that the trees being removed was something that happened when the city council rezoned it, and it doesn't appear that if there was if there was a way to resubmit a plan that had all the requirements that the city and the state requires and kept the trees, certainly that would be something that'd be great. But I think everything here seems fine to me, and I'm glad to see it being redeveloped.
Okay. I just have a question. I see that there's a ramp on the north side of the building. Why can't the handicap be moved next to the ramp? And then the people can come right in there.
if I might, it is, the van accessible space is adjacent to the ramp. Adjacent to the ramp, it can't go any further west. You need to have that 8-foot van accessible aisle, and then the 8-foot barrier-free space.
Well, why can't it be put where that sidewalk is? Next
Then
to,
you'd extend right into the driveway. It'd be encroaching into the driveway.
isn't there enough room?
No. You need to have what's there is minimum. You can't encroach any further into the driveway. In fact, it's, yeah, 20 feet is, well, you could encroach by like 1.7 feet, but that's not gonna help anything. It's not gonna save the tree.
It's really quite a shame.
Yeah, and I just want to remind the board, I mean, you know, landscape design coordinator reviewed this, made comments, everything, all the replacements are in accordance with the woodlands ordinance. You know, planning commission, city council, all reviewed it. So I just wanted to make that, you know, that they are making replacements in accordance to what we require as part of the woodlands ordinance.
And we're only being asked for front yard landscaping
Correct.
and the side yard setback.
Yeah.
I had the exact same experience as Ms. Selesny, where I drove by the property, actually 2 times, before I was certain that I was in the right property. So what is your plan for signage?
For signage, I think we have one on the corner, I think, of the lot. We have one sign on the corner of the lot,
Okay.
but we already in the other
Like
building.
at the entrance, where the
Yeah,
entrance would
in
be
the
so
entrance,
closest to
small
the
sign,
wall?
But then
Okay.
in the other building next door, that would be the main area where they park and they go register their kids and everything else. This utilized for really the access. Kids have moved from there to this location. So it's literally not gonna be first to stop there and then go back to the other side. No, the main building first, and then we take the kids to the other side.
I see. Okay.
And we'll
Okay.
probably get more of a attention-grabbing sign, so you
Okay.
can see it better, more lit up, things like that.
You also need some directional signage, like enter here or something similar
Yeah.
and exit here, so people, that you can see from the street.
Yes.
Yeah, and we don't have a one-way entry from one side and exit from the other side. It's gonna be all signage and everything there.
Okay, I hope so.
The building
Yeah.
department will definitely require all these things to be visible to everybody, so.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, will you make a motion unless there's any more discussion?
In regards to ZBA's case number 19-0015, the appellant, Lana Sabir, representing the owner, Banaz Sabir, is requesting the following from the board: a variance of 8.25 feet of landscaping in the front yard, 8.25 feet required, 0 feet provided, a variance of 4.7 feet of the required building east side yard setback, 15 feet required, 10.3 provided. The property is located on the south side of 9 Mile Road between Evergreen and Maple Ridge. The address is 19831 West 9 Mile Road, Zone OS Office Service. I make a motion to approve the variances. I'm basing this approval on, number one, the east side yard setback variance requested will have minimal adverse effects on the surrounding properties, especially since the petitioner owns the 2 adjacent undeveloped residential properties to the east, and a 6-foot high masonry wall is to be constructed along the east property line. Secondly, increasing the landscaping along 9 Mile Road would cause encroachment into minimum driveway widths, decrease vehicular circulation on the site, and would hinder access to the required parking areas. Thirdly, the site is unique in that there is a significant 20-foot landscape strip within the 9 Mile Road right-of-way, which provides adequate buffer from traffic on 9 Mile Road. Fourthly, the proposed landscape plan indicates compliance with city ordinances pertaining to tree removal and required landscape area on the overall site and will provide curb appeal. And lastly, the variance for landscaping abutting a street will have minimal adverse effects on the surrounding properties and is in character with the zoning ordinance in that the transitional nature of the area is maintained even with the deficiency in landscaping abutting the street.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but I'd like to add a condition that the illegal banners be removed in a reasonable amount of time.
Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I would like to say to you, I am not opposed to your daycare center. And I would ask you to relook at your plans to see if there's some way that you can save these big, beautiful trees. It adds to your property value. It adds to the appeal of it. I think that certainly this sidewalk is unnecessary, and you can go back to the city to ask them about that, and maybe you can go around it or whatever. But I would ask you to please look into that rather than just go and clear.
It's possible where the handicap area, that big tree, it is possible. When I'm looking at it right now, there is possibility that we might be able to switch the location and make it happen. But we have to get the approval of the building department, and that's what the major thing for us.
That would be
I will
great.
work on that part, for sure.
That would be great.
No problem.
Well, your request is approved, so congratulations. Good luck
Thank
with your
you.
project. Thank you. Have a good night. Next on the agenda is a set of minutes from July 2nd. Does anyone have any changes or corrections?
I didn't.
I didn't see anything either.
I do.
Mr. Rogers, Ms.
I
Reagan?
didn't see
Okay.
anything.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for July 2nd?
I so move.
Can I have a
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next meeting, we have a couple cases.
Yes. Through the chair to the board, we have 2 cases, a residential fence case and a sign case for the next meeting, August 20th.
Okay. Miscellaneous, we have a new board member. Would you like to-
Yes, if I might, through the chair to the board as a whole, we have a new board member, Mo Friedman.
What was the name again?
Mo Friedman.
Mo.
Mo,
Yeah,
M-O-E?
yeah. So we just want to thank him for coming on board, and if the board wants to say anything.
Mo, what is your background?
I've lived in the area for a long time. Just bought my first house and moved to Southfield a year ago. And I'm a lawyer. I work for the state of Michigan.
Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
One other thing, I don't know if you noticed that we're not getting maps anymore with our thing, although I got one this time. The explanation was Noah's complained about it, so you didn't get it.
I miss it.
Do you miss it?
The
I do.
parcel map.
I
Yeah.
hope you hear that, Brianna.
We will put them
Please
back
give us the
in.
maps.
We will absolutely put them back in. Not a
Thank-
problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous?
I
Okay.
move that we adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.